With the increased popularity of virtual reality, a new medium is evolving: 360-degree video. It has an amazing ability to transport viewers to new places and allows them to experience them in a more immersive way than ever before. The summer after graduation, I packed my bags and took off by myself to Iceland and points beyond, improvising as I went. With my 360-degree camera, I embarked on a journey around the world. The goal? Learn as much as I could about 360 video and get people excited about VR. In order to capture the world around us, we mount multiple cameras on a rig in order to get all the angles. Here's an example of a 6 GoPro contraption. And here's a 2-camera setup with fisheye lenses made by Kodak. In post-processing, we are later able to stitch the individual video feeds together to make a sphere. This summer I chose to travel with a Kodak SP360. Although the quality isn't as great as a 6 GoPro rig, there are some clear advantages beyond just size and portability. First, the stitching lines. A stitching line is kind of an invisible trapdoor that causes people and things to briefly disappear and then reappear. Often their shapes are heavily distorted as they cross the line. A 6 GoPro camera rig will have 12 stitching lines, while a 2-camera setup will only have 2. On the road, it made more sense. The camera was less obtrusive and attracted less attention. I used a 6-camera rig at Lightning in a Bottle last year, and people kept approaching me to ask me questions or just to have a closer look at the camera, while my typical approach was to be present in the shot but not a central figure, so it attracted a lot of attention. The challenges of meticulously setting up 6 cameras, the constant need to charge them and individually deal with the memory cards, was not worth the slight increase in quality to me. It's important not to think of this as an extension of an existing medium, but a completely new and unique one with its own language and set of rules, much of which still need to be discovered. As a 360 videographer, you need to develop an intuition for camera placement. Things appear further than they actually are. Get too close, and you get distorted. I've found that shots look more interesting when there's something to look at above, making the viewer really explore and utilize the whole space. You can also prevent some difficult post-processing work by always having one of the cameras facing the subject or the dominant view. However, sometimes that can backfire, like in this specific clip from Burning Man. Because it was so dark, the software had trouble finding enough control points to stitch the seam. Had I purposefully set up the camera with the stitching line going through the fire and through the lit up people facing it, perhaps I would have been able to salvage this clip, with more overlap to work with. The lighting would have looked more uniform. You generally don't want to have one camera directly facing a light source and the other facing away. Remember this clip? Here's what bad camera placement results in. Since everything gets in the shot, it's important to have something mildly interesting going on in all directions. We can divide the shot into quadrants or 3 or 4 different fields of view, with one being the dominant one. Now this brings a new problem. How do you get the audience's attention? What if they look away while something important is happening in one of the quadrants? Binaural audio is one solution. Close your eyes for just a moment. So if I was wearing a head tracking display and was standing in a virtual representation of a busy San Francisco street, if I were to turn my head and look behind me, the soundscape would be completely different. Early experiments in 360 video showed that moving the camera resulted in discomfort and disorientation for the viewer. As a result, a cardinal rule has emerged that you can't move the camera array. But with my experiments with motion, although this is an unpopular opinion, I believe motion can be incredibly powerful in capturing the audience's attention and directing their view the same way motion in flat cinema can focus or engage them. People tend to want to remain parallel to the field of motion. Looking perpendicular feels kind of weird. You want to straighten out like in this clip. You want to look ahead at where you're going instead of staring down. Moving also creates the illusion of having more degrees of freedom and makes the experience more compelling. But we are only beginning to scratch the surface. Unlike the more immersive VR experiences with headsets like the Vive or the Oculus, where you can also move in the virtual environment, spherical video has a long way to go. But as the experiences get more deep and immersive, we will get to experience presence like never before, going to places too dangerous or too expensive to understand something remote or exotic.